All right, welcome back to Hardware Unboxed. This is part 2 of our March Q&A. Part 1 was probably on the channel yesterday if I could have been bothered to get around to editing it. So go back and check that out to get part 1 of all of our questions. And, well, we've got another, I'd probably say 20 to 30 minutes worth of questions to cover in this episode. So
another batch to get through.
Yep, can't be diddly-daddling around.
Like this
Let's
guy.
get straight to it.
Next question, another pretty good one here. It was heavily upvoted. Why is everyone so excited about 16 core Zen 2, even when 8 cores is more than enough for modern gaming? Well, I'd say probably one of the main reasons is that you guys don't just game, or a lot of you. I suppose a lot of you do just game, but a lot of people don't just game. For example, well, Tim and I both really enjoy gaming, and that's why our content is very focused on gaming. We also like video editing, which needs more cores. 16 cores is a massive benefit over 8 there.
I think as well, it just helps to push down the pricing of all of the tiers, especially the ones that are more, cost effective for gamers. So your 6-core and 8-core CPUs are going to hopefully become cheaper if that 16-core CPU is introduced. And that means that you guys, instead of having to buy like a 9900K to get that top-end gaming performance, you could buy AMD's mid-range processor if that's what the lineup looks like.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the reasons why people are so excited by the Zen 2 rumors and leaks that we've seen so far, because they're claiming very affordable 6-core parts, which may happen. Be great if it does, but that ties in with what Tim's saying, is when you get a lot more cores up top, it's unlikely they're going to charge over $1,000. Well, they're already not doing that on the Threadripper platform.
Yeah, that's right.
So it stands to reason that a 16-core Zen 2 part will be reasonably affordable, possibly around the $500 mark. That would make sense. At a guess. Don't hold me to that. We don't have any information. Okay, we got another console-ish related question. And since Tim is a resident console gamer...
Apparently.
Well, you've got a console and I don't.
I do.
So by default, you are a resident console gamer. Why is console hardware made by AMD and not by Intel and Nvidia? So Tim, shoot.
Yeah, so, well, I mean, AMD sort of has that one-stop solution for everything. You can get your CPU and your GPU, and that's the two main components that really the other companies are offering. So
makes sense.
It just, I'm certain that it makes the whole process of getting those chips much easier. Rather than deal with two companies, deal with one.
Easier and more cost effective.
It's on the one die. It's easy. So that is a big benefit for AMD at the moment. Potentially with Intel getting back into more powerful GPU hardware, that they could be an option in the future as well, depending on how they go. With Nvidia only really offering their GPUs only. But that said, the Nintendo Switch does use an Nvidia ARM-based SoC, so we don't really hear a lot about their ARM processors anymore because NVIDIA is mostly using those for their car-related stuff. But certainly they did at one point have, not the most powerful thing, but certainly a mobile class SoC that had ARM CPU cores and their own GPU in there. So yeah, there's a lot of solutions out there, but it's simply because AMD seems to be offering the best overall package that they can win over the console makers at the moment. Yeah,
they would definitely be exploring all their options, and it seems like AMD is the best option, likely the most cost-effective, and I'm not sure Intel will come in there and muscle them out of that one anytime soon. All right, I'll probably answer this one since I do most of this testing. Will you ever test entry-level AIB cards instead of the high-end ones? I'm pretty sure that most of us, buy those ones, so I'll just address this as a bit more of the question. That's the bulk of the question, though. So I would love to, and we've talked about this with our Patreon members a few times because they've asked the same question, and we've really got to get to a point where we can afford to buy a few of these graphics cards each time they come out, because the companies we work with, they seem to just refuse to send out, or at least their HQ refuses to send them out, because they want their flagship card. They want to see, if it's a Gigabyte card or an Asus card or MSI, they want their best foot forward, their best showing. So they're not going to send their really cheap budget model with their base cooler, even if that makes sense to buy, even if it's a better value card, and we would probably give it a better review. They want the card that's going to have the lowest operating temperature, the best overclocks, the best out-of-the-box performance, all that stuff. So yeah, we've really got to buy them. And you guys might think, well, just buy them. Sounds easy enough. But yeah, it costs thousands of dollars to buy, multiple cards. Like I don't even know how much is the 1660 Ti in Australia. It'd probably be around $400 or something. I'm just guessing. So you buy 3 of those, and that's $1,200 spent. So
support us on Patreon, and then maybe in the future we'll be able to do a bit more.
We do buy a lot of hardware, and I was contemplating for the next release, the 1650, I may just buy a base model Gigabyte, Asus, an MSI card, or whoever else I can get my hands on, and we'll do that. And we do that stuff from time to time, but we also have to buy camera gear and all kind. Tim's just spent many thousands of dollars on new camera gear to up his B-roll game. So, yeah, it is what it is. Next question. Love this one. Short, sharp, gets to the point. Will the 1050 Ti get a price cut? I'm just going to simply answer that in the same fashion the question was asked. No. What do you reckon?
Just get phased out of the market.
It'll get phased out. If anything, it'll actually increase a bit in price as it goes out. And yeah, that's pretty much that one. So the only way you're going to get a cheap 1050 Ti is if you get it, possibly on sale, but usually secondhand. But really, I wouldn't even bother with the 1050 Ti. It's so much slower than an RX 570, and they're down to like $120. It's insane. You get 2 games with those. So, yeah, just go get yourself an RX 570.
It's almost like you buy the games and then you get the GPU for free.
In that sense, yes, you do. Yep, they're amazing, the prices of those things at the moment. So yeah, I'd be snapping up an RX 570 or an RX 580.
All right, Steve, what do you reckon about this one? Why don't you cover any custom water cooling PC tech on your channel? You always have that awesome custom loop behind you, Steve, but you don't seem to do much with water cooling on the channel.
Yeah, okay. It's a fair enough question. I think probably a few reasons. First of all, I'm not super passionate about the liquid cooling and all that kind of stuff. It's enjoyable and fun. It's kind of gimmicky, I think, is the best way to put it.
Oh, you're going to upset the community with that one?
Well, it's not we're a value channel, right? And it's not a value. Yeah, it's not at all practical. So it looks amazing. It's a lot of fun if you like that hands-on stuff. But to recommend it to you, you first need a crap load of money. That's very important. Then you need to be super into your PC and super into PC maintenance, because it's not like you build it looks glorious and there you go, that's just going to look glorious for the next few years. You've got to do coolant flushes, clean the parts. If something goes wrong, you've got to rip the whole thing down. Maybe you have to, it might have taken you 2 days to do all those hard tube bends and whatever, and then you have to either take them out and try and clean them, or they get stained and then you've got to do it again. Things get corroded, things fail, things leak, and then you got to do a whole lot more cleaning. So yeah, it's kind of like, I suppose I'd liken it to guys that are into cars. So, you just want a car, take it to the track and have a bit of fun. There's those guys, and if it breaks down, you get someone else to deal with it. And then there's guys that just pull them apart and change every little thing or rebuild every little thing, and they have fun doing it. So if you're that kind of guy with cars, then you need to be that kind of guy for computers. You need to just be willing. If something goes wrong and it's a massive headache, then water cooling's not for you. But if the idea of having to do a whole flush and pull everything apart and clean it meticulously gets you all excited, then go for your water cooling. But yeah, it's just really expensive and impractical, so I don't try to push it too much, because people will get the wrong idea and think that, wow, it looks amazing and the performance must be amazing and I'm going to get that. You've really got to be willing to deal with all those shortcomings as well. Make sense to you from someone who hasn't done too much of it?
I totally agree. That's why I don't usually bother all that much.
Yeah. All right, next question. I'll answer this one pretty quickly. It wasn't that heavily upvoted, but reasonable enough question. Can you overclock the Athlon 200G higher than 3.8 to 3.9 gigahertz with an AIO and forcing voltage? So for those of you that don't know, MSI went and unlocked overclocking of the Athlon 200GE, just cause. And Gigabyte and everyone else followed suit. So you can overclock it. They generally only do about 3.8. Some of the better ones do 3.9. It's not a heat-related problem. It's just a silicon limitation. So strapping on an AIO that costs 2 or 3 times what the CPU costs and running a heap of voltage through it won't really help you. It'll do what it'll do pretty much with a sort of a Wraith cooler on it. So yeah. Are PSU wattage requirements for the from graphics card manufacturers the absolute minimum or just a guideline? Can users go maybe 50 watts lower and still be on the safe side? Well, again, it comes to power supply efficiency, which is what we talked about in an earlier question, probably in part 1 by this point. 50 watts lower, sure. You'd get away with that, no worries. You could probably go 100 watts lower with a efficient unit. But they are very much a guideline. So yeah, abide by them if you can. Generally go higher. Usually doesn't cost you too much money. But yeah, if you're 50 watts under, then you'll get away with that perfectly fine. Another question here for Tim.
Oh, God.
When will 3rd gen Ryzen, nearly forgot the crucial bit there, Ryzen for the desktop launch? When will 3rd gen Ryzen launch, Tim? Go.
Can't tell you.
It's like 2 to 3 months, I guess. Guess being a crucial word there. All right, moving on. I finished trolling Tim for the moment. Both of you blinked twice at the same time if you received an AMD 3rd gen, I didn't even know this was the next question, CPU, and are those CPUs good? So what have we got to do? Blink. Yeah,
It seems very complicated to coordinate this.
I already blinked, so you screwed it up. No, we do not have samples yet. No media have samples yet. At a guess, I would say we're a few months away still from getting samples. But AMD could ring me up next week and go, samples are on the way. But yeah, it's not going to happen, I don't think. 2 or 3 months probably, around Computex time. So the reason the 9900K ends up getting so hot is not only because the die is bigger, but the actual board the die rests on is also thicker. It's actually the die itself. Thus increasing temperatures to the level that not even liquid metal can fully dissipate. By itself, you've got to sand the die down, yada, yada, yada. Where is this going? With that monologue of a sentence out of the way, we skipped a bit, sorry. Do you think it's time Intel rethinks their manufacturing process to make sure that their CPUs can be reasonably cooled with an AIO at 5 GHz, especially if they, for some reason, still can't get their next gen 10 or get to 10 nanometer? It's a hard one to cover because they've obviously done what they've done because they had to. So if they make the silicon on top of the cores and whatnot, if they make that thinner, apparently they risk cracking that when they do the soldering process. And then if they make the solder thinner, that can crack over time from heating up and expanding. And so I don't know. It's weird because they seem to have done it before, but I haven't looked into the various arguments with this because I haven't really cared too much. But maybe an argument would be that the older CPUs where they did this, well, they could say that they cracked, but I don't think they did. But they could just argue that they're not putting out nearly as much heat, so your thermal expansion and contraction there is not as extreme. Maybe that's a reason. But yeah, they do need to rethink things. Well, they don't really need to rethink things. They just need to get to a new process node.
Yeah, and that's basically it. They were never planning to have this situation where they were producing a CPU that struggles with thermals. It's the things get delayed, and this is what they've ended up with.
Well, it's a double whammy. I don't think they ever expected Ryzen to come out and be as good as it is, especially in terms of value. 8 cores at the price that AMD can happily offer it for. And yeah, getting stuck on their current process node is just not ideal, even though it does do quite well. But they will need to move on at some point. But anyway, that's that one.
Okay, the priest asks, I have a friend that's been nagging me all day about how he wants a laptop but doesn't actually need the portability and he wants to game on it. Of course, I'm trying to convince him just to build a PC. I'll even help him assemble it. The question, at a fixed given price tag, is it preferable for gaming and light content creation to get a PC or a laptop if you don't need mobility? Well, someone has reviewed a lot of gaming laptops. My answer to this is if you don't need the mobility, you should definitely get a desktop.
Yes.
The whole point of getting a gaming laptop is that you can take it around, you can move it about. A lot of them aren't compact, but a lot of them are compact enough that you can just have your one PC that you take wherever you want to go. You can do gaming, whatever. If you aren't going to move it around, so mobility isn't an issue, then you'll get much better value for money building a PC. Not only are the names, as I've been talking about a lot in my gaming laptop reviews, not only are the names of GPUs not actually reflective of the desktop performance. So you think you're getting an RTX 2060, but you're actually getting like GTX 1660 performance. You get, they're just so much more expensive for that level of performance. I'd even say a well-built desktop would be half the cost
that sounds
of a laptop.
Yep.
For a given level of performance. So, and of course, a desktop has a whole range of performances that you actually can't get out of any laptop form factor.
Well,
or at least reasonable laptops.
If you don't need the mobility, the list of advantages that a desktop PC offers is
massive.
Longer than your arm. So you have, as Tim said, significantly better performance for a lower cost. So that's just one. You have much better upgradability. If something breaks, you don't have to junk the entire unit. Much easier to expand and add things like storage. You can... what else is there? There's so many things. You can have a way better monitor. Your range of monitors is significantly better. Generally, laptop monitors are pretty garbage. Yeah, much quieter when gaming. The list just goes on. Better keyboard. Of course, you can attach a keyboard
better
to your
I/O
laptop.
in general.
Sure, keyboard and mouse stuff.
There's so many advantages.
It's significantly better on all fronts, really, apart from being able to pick it up and move it somewhere else.
Yeah, and that's why I've never understood those massive, chunky, like your 17-inch mega chunky laptops. It's like, that isn't portable anymore. Why does that exist when you could just... You can even build a slimish desktop system, like a small form factor or something like that, and it just makes so much more sense than that particular product. That said, at the same time, I'm not saying that gaming laptops are bad products, because certainly, especially the thin and light ones, yeah, you're paying a lot of money, but the level of performance you can get from something that's this thin and is portable is very impressive. And certainly for us, content creating at Computex, for example, that's the exact sort of thing we want to take. We might take desktops.
I'm taking a desktop this year. It'd be much better. But anyway, if it's really all about the portability. If you're not taking advantage of the portability, then it makes absolutely no sense at all. The other advantage they have is they have a built-in UPS, but you can just buy a decent UPS for very little money these days, and it will serve the same purpose if you're worried about losing wherever you're at when a power outage.
Yep.
So I think we've very
pretty
much covered that one. We'll move on.
This is a nice topical question, considering I think this was just announced. So what is your opinion about Google's Stadia? What do you think about licensing all those games for all the different platforms? Will Google have likely only 10 to 15 AAA titles in their offer? I mean, it's hard to say what the licensing situation is, because I don't think Google has really announced their lineup or pricing yet. So it's hard to really know, what will their AAA selection be like? What publishers are they working with? What will their game range be? But I'm assuming it'll be some sort of subscription thing. So that is one concern. But for me, that's not really the main concern of this sort of thing. My main concern is the latency, which is a fundamental issue with game streaming.
Yep.
And while it does seem like Google is promising to have the best handling of this issue than any other solution that's come before, it's still an issue. And from all the game streaming that I've personally tried, and I have a good internet connection here, it's just the latency is bad. It's just, especially for a wide variety of games, like your racing games, your first-person shooters of any kind, the latency is just killer.
Yeah.
And it's something that you fundamentally can't change. Because even if I stream games in my own house from my PC through my router to a different device, the latency for like a game like Fortnite is bad. So
latency on your own local device is always an obstacle that we're trying to overcome.
So PC gaming has a big advantage for latency over even console gaming.
Yep.
Like being able to run at high refresh rates, being able to turn off things like VSync and double buffering and all that massively improves your latency. So to then have all that stuff and then add on your internet latency as well, it just is making this situation where it seems like a lot of people have tried it as well, this situation where I don't think that problem has been solved. And that's the problem that needs to be solved before this solution will ever be good. And they're talking about this like future of gaming, and yeah, it might be, but they need to actually genuinely solve that problem first.
I think so. Well, what's my opinion? Without having tested it and seen if it delivers what they say it can do, my opinion is it's going to be a fantastic service and it's going to be amazing for your casual gamer. Pretty much console-type gamers.
Yeah, if you're playing Assassin's Creed, which is their demo game, that's
sure.
like...
I think for casual gamers, it's going to be a game changer, or it has the potential to be. But for most of you watching this who take your gaming quite seriously, you want the best graphics that you possibly can have, high resolutions, all that kind of stuff, then it's really not going to appeal to you. But that would probably put you in the minority of gamers as the industry grows. There's a lot more casual gamers now than there are like super serious guys. I suppose, I don't know, I don't really have the statistics, but
yeah,
I think it's definitely going to change. It'll probably be a real competitor for console gaming rather than PC gaming, I think.
Yeah, I'm not 100% convinced about how it will go against console gaming even, because I still think that, especially with the move to consoles like the PS4 Pro and Xbox One X in particular, that there has been more of a movement towards getting a really high quality gaming experience in terms of your...
This service will evolve though, whereas the consoles, once they come out, they're stuck there for like a decade.
Yeah, I sort of understand. I just think that, people have tried this solution before.
It's not new.
It's been an option with GeForce Now, for example.
Infrastructure is a massive problem with everyone who's tried it, whereas Google will be able to overcome that.
I think Google has the best opportunity to overcome it. I'm not sure whether they actually will be able to. And that's the main...
That's fair.
I think that's the main question. So, that said, on the console front, I still think that a lot of people prefer the home solution, like buying your box, you run your games locally. But we'll see. We'll see how it evolves.
Yeah, we'll see. Okay, we have a question here from Nick, one of our loyal Patreon members who's been with us for a long time, and he asks, the prices of AIB 2080 Ti's are starting to drop below FE pricing in Australia, so I'm considering buying one. If it were your money, would you buy a 2080 Ti now, or are we close enough to 7nm GPU production that you'd save money for a 3080 Ti? Well, this is one of those questions we were joking about before. I kind of need to know what you're coming from and if you're hating life with what you've got. But then I suppose you wouldn't have anything too rubbish if you're thinking of buying a 2080 Ti, especially in Australia. Imagining that you have a decent GPU like a GTX 1080 or Vega 64 or a 1080 Ti, then no, I definitely wouldn't upgrade. It's way too much money for what it is. I would wait. 3080 Ti, who knows? But yeah, I would definitely be waiting till next year. Make do with what you've got now. Play on slightly lower settings if you have to. But yeah, I mean, ultimately, that's the decision that you have to make. But yeah, personally, if it was my money, I would wait. What would you do with your money?
Yeah, I mean, again, like you say, it does depend on the situation, because you probably are facing like a year wait for a 3080 Ti. I mean, it depends what Navi, the situation with Navi is, but again, hard to say there. So yeah, if we're talking about a year wait, it does massively depend on what you've got
as I said in the last Q&A, I'm gaming with Vega 56 at the moment, and I'm perfectly happy with it. I do a little bit of resolution downscaling, all that sort of stuff, and tweak the quality settings following Tim's guides and things like that. And I'm playing on a 4K monitor, so obviously I'm not playing at native 4K, but it's fine. And I have the option there of dropping in a spare 2080 Ti if I want to, but I don't really feel the need. I don't game a whole lot, obviously, but...
Yeah. From memory, Nick does have one of those 4K 144Hz monitors.
Okay.
In which case, I'm assuming that you're maybe have a bit of money to throw around if you're buying that sort of monitor. So in that case, then maybe if you're facing that year-long wait, you're a really high-end PC gamer, then maybe you could justify spending that money on the 2080 Ti.
Yeah, it's hard.
It's very expensive.
It's hard to know exactly what you want. As I said, I'm quite happy with Vega 56 at the moment. I don't really feel the need to get anything more powerful. Every game I play runs perfectly fine. I'm happy to do a little bit of tweaking here and there. So, yeah, everyone's a bit different there.
All right, Silence Game asks, again from our Discord chat, what do you guys think of eye tracking hardware like Tobii? Are you interested in that kind of stuff? And if yes, when you have spare time, can you do a review? I've used eye tracking once or twice ever, and it just is a gimmick from what I've used. I mean,
I've never used it, so...
Like, as for reviewing it, there's just... Game support isn't good enough, and the things that I actually found it annoying to play with eye tracking enabled, because it does stuff like you look at the left side of the screen and your character shifts its movement to the left side. I'm so used to playing with controlling my character's view from
the
mouse and keyboard or a controller, that having my eyes do it was really unnatural and hard to sort of work with. So for me, I just don't think it's worth it at all.
Be kind of cool for racing car games, maybe.
Yeah, like I think if you had, say, a multi-screen setup, like you were big into surround, you had maybe 3 ultra-wide monitors or something, and you could really look around and stuff, and
the neck workout.
Yeah. And so, but yeah, again, if you have the ultra-wide monitors, you would just be looking at the different scenes. You wouldn't have to move around. Maybe change the fisheye or something would be convenient. But so I just don't think that it offers anything that unique or important to have in gaming, which I guess is why it hasn't really been widely adopted.
Okay, we have a question here from Airbus A320-200. Obviously, it must be the guy that's in the flight simulators. It keeps asking me to benchmark him. Sorry, I haven't, but anyway, hey guys, g'day. I would like to request an explanation of what dual channel RAM means. I've heard you guys mention it quite a few times. Yep. And what are QVO SSDs? Cheers. All right. Well, dual channel RAM is not single channel RAM.
How helpful.
I was going to elaborate.
All right.
Well, back in the days when dinosaurs used to roam, we had single channel memory. And by adding another stick of memory and running them in dual channel, you can effectively double the available bandwidth. It's kind of like RAID 0, but for memory modules.
There's more wires, so you can run more memory access.
Yeah, so back in the days, actually, I don't know if we had dual channel memory back in the days of chipset memory controls. I think we did. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. But as long as the memory controller supports dual channel memory, then you can use it. So people, guys that are new to this, get a little confused. They think dual channel memory is just having 2 memory modules, which isn't the case. And then obviously, as we saw with the Verge PC build, it really depends on which slots the memory is in to enable dual channel operation. But it's just a really good way of effectively increasing memory bandwidth, which then speeds up everything.
Yeah. The CPU effectively has 2 taps on it. Single channel memory, you only attach one hose to one tap. You have dual channel memory, you attach both hoses, you get more output. So it's just generally beneficial. As for QVO SSDs, I believe that's Samsung's new entry-level range of SSDs that use QLC memory, which is the
quad layer.
So 4 bits per cell.
Yep.
So they have sort of the lowest performance, but are very affordable to make. So because they're very high density. So yeah, that's what a QVO SSD. Are they supposed to say QVO? I'm not sure, but
yeah, I've actually got one. Haven't looked at it yet. Haven't reviewed it, so I haven't looked into it too much. But basically, SLC was the original technology, and that's single layer, so 1 bit per cell, and then we got MLC, which was multi-level, which was 2, and then we got TLC, which was 3, and now we've got 4. So they've basically just got to a point where the technology is matured enough, they will survive that kind of, the endurance ratings have improved so much that they can do that now. Back in the day, that would have killed your SSD pretty quickly, but they've just, as I said, matured and evolved, and now that is a thing that's possible.
Yeah, it seems like they're a decent option for, say, not a high performance task, but just like a large game library, considering I think Samsung makes quite affordable 1 and 2 terabyte models that you can very easily chuck your entire game library on something like that, get decent performance. You're not going to get blazing fast speeds, but certainly good enough for game loading.
Well, those SATA drives mostly, aren't they?
Yeah,
anyway?
I believe so.
You're probably limited by the interface there anyway.
Yeah.
500 megabytes per second read-write. It's pretty much what you can do there. So yeah, they're probably pretty useful secondary drives. So like you say, storing a Steam library or something. But yeah, if you want to know more about them, check the reviews, what they're like as boot drives. But yeah, I've got one. I just haven't got around to testing it out yet.
All right, that's it. March Q&A. Now it's all done. I reckon it was a pretty successful Q&A episode, as it usually is. I don't think we've had any epic fails as far as our Q&As have gone so far.
We'll give ourselves a pat on the back for that one. I'm sure we did a great job.
Yeah, really good questions from you guys as well. As Steve mentioned at the start of part 1, I think it was, we do post the places where you can ask your questions on the YouTube community tab, sometimes on Twitter, and also in our Discord chat, which you can access through our Patreon page. That's where you can ask your questions for these episodes. So yeah, if you're wondering about that, we don't tend to get them from the YouTube comments on these episodes. So,
no, we get a lot of comments on these episodes saying, where do I ask my question? As Tim just said. Community page, keep an eye on that.
Yep.
We'll keep refreshing it. You've got about 30 days to get it right.
Yep. And then get your questions in for next month's episode. What else? I think we've covered everything. The whole Patreon stuff that we usually say. Subscribe to the channel. We always like it when you guys do that.
I think Tim's doing a good job with this outro.
Thumbs up, if you like the video. That helps sometimes.
None of that. We don't want that.
No, don't do those. And, well, I guess we'll catch you in the next one.
I'm your host, Steve.
I'm your host, Tim.